Welcome to Sprint Demos. Today we're looking at Fleet 4.86.0, codenamed Cerium, and we have some cool new features that we're really excited for you to see. So I'm going to hand it over to George.
All right, we're going to be super Cerium today, guys. Don't worry about it. But kicking us off to start is going to be Jordan for MDM.
Thanks, George. Got a couple of videos and a live demo. All right. I'm going to do a quick demo of some functionality that we have built to enhance a feature that was shipped in the prior release. This is macOS local admin account rotate password. Our user story is, as an IT admin that used a local admin account for troubleshooting, I want Fleet to rotate the account's password so that I can be confident the admin credentials aren't leaked. Our story has a guide update, so we've updated the setup experience guide to call out this new rotation behavior. And if we take a look at this Mac, I recently took it through setup and it has a managed local account. So we'll take a look at that password. So the password on this one starts with 8 LPW. You can see that it rotates at 2:11 p.m., which is an hour and 5 minutes from now. And so if I'm an admin, I'll get that password. I'll do whatever setup or whatever troubleshooting I want to do. You can see we do log an activity when the password is viewed. And then maybe I don't want to wait until 2:11 p.m. Maybe I would like that password rotating now. Perhaps I had to give it to the user or something. I'm just going to hit rotate password. And you can see we've got a new activity that says I triggered the rotation of the managed local account password for this host. And then if I do show MDM commands, the password rotation command was acknowledged less than 20 seconds ago. That's a pretty fast password change. And if I go look at the password now, you can see it starts with P9Z2, so it's a different password than we saw before. It also has a new rotation time. But as you can see, it's also got this rotates automatically. So I'm going to go in the database and just update that password to automatically rotate real quick. So if I close this and reopen it, now it shows it's going to rotate at 1:08 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and just trigger the cron so we don't have to wait a couple minutes. And you now see that it shows Fleet triggered the rotation of that password, which is what will show when this just gets triggered by the background rotation. And if I show that account now, it'll show 2:13 p.m. and a new password beginning with PBLX. And this also gets triggered if you view the password via the API. Any call to retrieve this password is going to start the rotation timer. There's no way to stop it or anything like that. So this just ensures that if these credentials are being used, they're being rotated. They are, of course, randomly generated and different on each host. But this just ensures that even a single host credentials can't be leaked or have any kind of static credentials floating around out there. Thank you. All right. This next one is another video demo. I'm going to demo a small new feature that was initially built at a recent hackathon and then was refined during the current sprint and will be shipped in the upcoming release. This is enable Fleet D debug logging at runtime during setup experience. Our user story is, as an IT admin, I want to be able to set debug logging during setup experience so that I can debug more effectively. And this adds a new agent option that essentially allows an admin to configure a duration up to 24 hours that an agent will debug log for after enrollment. And so this is configured in the agent options. You can see I've got it set here to 3600 or 1 hour. And I've got a virtual machine here that is currently in Fleet. You can see here it is not currently debug logging. You can see the logs are pretty much steady state. I'm actually just going to delete it to force it to re-enroll, and we'll see it start debug logging. So we'll give this host just a moment. But because it's forced to re-enroll, it will start debug logging pretty soon. Really, one of the big use cases for this feature is for setups that generally would have used our pre-built default enrollment packages, such as Apple DEP setup or Windows Autopilot. There was no way to enable debug logging during the actual setup experience process on those hosts before. And so if we wanted to get information early in the setup phase on those hosts, there was essentially just no way to do it because previously it required building a specially built fleet D, and at best you could use one of our developer environment variables. So you can see now this host is doing all sorts of debug logging. It's logging the queries that it's running. It's logging the Orbit is debug logging for all of the different update runners and things. And for instance, if we're trying to determine why certain hosts are having issues during setup experience or something, this adds another tool in our belt. And as mentioned, it is time limited. So it's not, if this is enabled, it's going to constantly be filling the disk for months with debug logs. So what I'm going to do is on the back end, essentially set the timestamp to stop the debug logging as now. And what we'll see is in a relatively short amount of time, it's going to pick that up, and that will cause the debug logging to stop. All right, so you can see both OS Query and Orbit have restarted here, and debug logging has stopped. We're just back to the normal steady state logging. We've got the normal info logs that you would see on startup, but none of the debug logging we were seeing just a moment ago. Thank you. And then I've got one more update. So in the previous sprint, we discussed the results of some of our platform SSO testing with Okta. In this sprint, we documented platform SSO for Okta. We've done a POC for Intra, and we'll be documenting that pretty quickly in the upcoming sprint as they just released GA support this week for simplified platform SSO. So similar to this. So our user story for this one is, as an IT admin, I want to make sure platform SSO is set up during Setup Assistant when setting up a new Mac so that my end users can use the same credentials to log into their Mac. And then we've got a doc update for this one. So this is live right now. We've updated our platform SSO Okta docs to call out how to use this new simplified setup platform SSO. We have links to an example profile with these new settings. We also call out the new settings that are needed, such as this enable registration during setup that are different from the usual platform SSO setup that customers might have used. We have the only real code change that we've made. This is a small change made by Andy, is we've now got a link to these platform SSO docs, which, as I mentioned, we'll be adding intro support for soon on this users page, just to point customers to platform SSO. We've checked in example profiles for both Okta for platform SSO with creating the user during setup, and for Intra, actually. We already have at least one customer that's doing some testing with this, that has requested it. And so in the last sprint, I showed you a not so great video of it. We've now got a much higher quality video that goes all the way through setup. So it shows you the initial login and then the actual end of setup experience, where it goes straight into the Okta login phase. We'll be uploading this to YouTube so that we can link to this from our customer-facing docs to show customers exactly what their users can expect. And so, as I mentioned, we will have Intra versions coming very soon. Intra has a few more ways you can do this than Okta does, and so we'll document both ways. And as I mentioned, it's just gone GA this week. But yeah, this is some really cool functionality. As you can see here, everything, I didn't have to enter my password twice. It was there from the Okta login. It's synced to Okta. It will keep in sync with Okta. So just some really cool functionality that is now documented and usable by customers. And so that is what I've got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan. Next up, we've got Magnus.
Thank you, George. I will quickly run through this first one here. Let's see this. And then I have two other videos. So the first one here is update default Apple automatic enrollment profile. And the user story is, as an IT admin, I want to make sure all Apple automatic enrollment profile defaults are set correctly so that end users have the best experience possible. And before, we had a default profile that was quite filled out and quite biased towards what we did initially. So what we've gone with now is, for new enrollments and new fleet instances, is that the MDM removal, the profile is not removable, which it was before. And we've opted for defaulting to skipping no setup items, meaning the IT admin can define themselves what they want to skip, so we don't bias towards skipping some cases. There's nothing right here to show. It won't change for existing customers. They still have that default. And then we provided a way to download that default for them so they know it. And then next up, we have this one here. Hi, so today I will demo this story here, which is global end host activity for a failing SCEP or enrollment profile renewal. So the user story reads the following. As an IT admin, I want to see when a SCEP or enrollment profile renewals fail, so that I can be aware of SCEP certificates that need attention. And this is basically because before we didn't really surface if a device hit an issue with its enrollment profile renewal via SCEP or now also via ACME due to some error on the SCEP server side. With this, we're introducing a new activity, and this here will be documented in the audit logs reference where you can see the structure of it. And on a device, I've simulated a failure here. You can see we have this now fleet enrollment profile renewal failed for this host, and it gives you the same MDM request and response model. So you can see the request that was sent and also the response. And here it's just a response saying the server failed. And it also shows on the dashboard or the global activity feed here, fleet enrollment profile renewal failed for iPhone, same details, as well as, of course, filtering for the type enrollment profile renewal failed. And that's the change. I do want to point out some caveats we found while testing this, that it primarily produces this only for supervised ADE enrolled devices using the SCEP protocol. We saw with manually enrolled devices that it will break its MDM connection and remove the profile and then send a checkout, meaning we don't see the error for the device. And for ACME, supervised and ADE enrolled, and also, which is the only way to do ACME currently, it also does the same idea of breaking its MDM connection and sends the checkout without responding to the command. Therefore, we don't produce the error. But then, of course, you see the issue of the MDM being turned off for the device in the activity feed. So that's it. Thanks. Yep. And then we have this next one here, clear state. Hi. So today I will demo this story, which is clear state on AVM or AB host re-enrollment. So the user story reads the following. As an IT admin, I want Fleet to clear labels, other non-OS query vitals, and cancel pending command scripts software when an ABM host enrolls, so that I don't have to delete the host to make sure it gets the right configuration profile and isn't accidentally locked when it re-enrolls. And the value here is that we had some cases where either scripts or commands could be scripts could be resent to a host when re-enrolled because it was still there. For the guide pieces, we are updating the enroll host article, adding a section to the bottom for this saying that AB hosts specifically will clear the state on re-enrollment. And we're also updating this Apple MDM setup with a similar call out and what we're also canceling and clearing. So I have this iPhone currently enrolled and ready to re-enroll, which has some data. It has activity generation. It has MDM commits and also upcoming ones. It also has an IDP user association. So we also did this new setting under organization settings, advanced options, and then specifically under this new section called activity and data retention. This checkbox, preserve host activities on re-enrollment, is one you can check to not clear out the activities on the host. They will still exist in the global scope if they are there, but host-specific activities will be kept, but I will keep it off for demo purposes to see that everything gets cleared. So if I, on this iPhone next to me, click enroll, we should pretty quickly see that we get re-enrolled and that the data here will then disappear. And we can already see here that it cleared out the data it had on it. OS settings, the user association, there's no past activity or MDM commands. There is the upcoming and the generated activities for setup experience that we're seeing. So that's correct. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that was it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Magnus. And thank you, MDM team. Great contributions. Next up, we're going to be moving over to software, starting with Jonathan, demoing a story that was worked on by the whole group.
Hey, yeah, just share my screen.
Jonathan, you're extremely quiet.
Oh, is that better?
A little better.
Okay, yes, sorry. Share sound and optimize for video sharing. For the iOS or iPadOS apps manage app configuration story. So as an IT admin editing iOS or iPadOS apps, I want to define managed configuration so that I can deploy the app and have it automatically configured or update an already deployed app's configuration. What is this going to look like? We'll go to our host here, and there's some software. There's an in-house app, which you can also edit with the configuration, and then there's some VPP apps. So let's go to Zoom and change the configuration. And let's change it to demo. And this is where we can use fleet secrets or fleet variables. So we can use secret SSO URL. And you can also use fleet variables like this one. Just because this is a URL here, I'm going to not use that. And let's save. As you can see, it's saved. And this will also apply for auto updates. So if you schedule any automatic updates, they will use the latest configuration. So we can go here now and reinstall it. This is pretty fast. So you see we install the app. And you won't see the secret here. You only see it on the phone here. Let's get rid of the previous thing and click sign in here. And here you can see we have demo.example.url. Something. So that's the secret we have. And yeah, this is how you can deploy a configuration for your VPP app. And let's also try an in-house app. So let's see if this works. We have this in-house app. We have a configuration and have an existing message here. As you can see, this is currently what we have. We can change it to a message for at whatever this is and save it, and we can reinstall. And when we open it, we can see my username for this IDP provider. So yeah, that's it. Okay, that should be it.
All righty. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Next up, I'll be sharing a video that Marco worked on for allowing VPP apps outside of the US.
Hello. Yeah, today I'm gonna demo this new feature. Yeah, we introduced support for non-US VPP apps. User story goes, as an IT admin who works at an organization that manages Apple hosts across multiple countries, I want to configure an Apple's App Store country at the fleet level. so that I can deploy VPP apps that are only supported in specific countries. I will give a little bit of technical details and some historical kind of view on what happened here. Is that in Fleet we today, whenever you add your token and then we list VPP apps, we always fetch the metadata like name, version, and icon from US store. So if app is not available in US store, then Fleet fails to add those apps. We can't fetch them. So we improved that, and now we support VPP app from any country. Also, I'll just kind of go through how it works in Apple Business Manager to give a little bit of context. But the thing is, like, whenever you register or get your Apple Business Manager, it's registered in a certain country and then it's tied based to that country. So, for example, here it's Fleet's US-based Apple Business Manager, where basically if I go here, I can only actually find and add like licenses for apps that are available in the US App Store. There's one example, for example, Doclib Pro. This is an app that's available in, I think, Germany and France only. And then if I try to search for Doclib, it will show me some Doclib app that's available globally. But if I search for Pro, it doesn't show up here. While in the other window, here I have German-based Apple Business Manager instance. So if I go to the same page here and try to search for Doclib Pro, I'll see it'll show both the global one and Doclib Pro, which I can add licenses for, which I already added some. So that's basically the difference. So like your Apple Business Manager determines which apps you can actually add. So basically, yeah, if you're as German based as this one, you'll see everything that's available in Germany. So basically any global app, most of apps are global, but some that are specific to just this store will be available. But there are some, for example, there's this M7CL stage mix. So as you can see, there's this one and M7CL stage mix US. So they have two, like it's same app, but basically there's US version. This one is only available in US, and this one is available in other countries, rest of the world, I think, except US for some reason. And then this one shows up in M7CL. If I search for M7, this is German based M7CL. It will show me that version that's available everywhere except the US. And if I go to the US base and do the same M7CL, I'll see this specific US based version. So I think, yeah, you get the idea here. Now I'll switch to Fleet and demo how this works. So like I have my iPhone enrolled here, so I'll show like you can actually install those apps. And I'm gonna go into settings, integrations, MDM. My Apple Business Manager is connected, and now I'll just add VPP token. So let's first add like US token, which will lay under settings. And here we have these organizational units now in the new Apple Business Manager. I'll download this token and I'll just upload that token to here to Fleet. So now you can see, okay, it's added, and there's this new field, country, US. So Fleet will use US to fetch information for any app that's added to this. So I'll just add, okay, I'll just add it to workstations team. I don't have host there, but anyway. And now let's do the same thing and add German-based token, settings, apps and books, payments and billings. Yep, there it is. Okay, so there's my token here. Let me add that one. So I uploaded this one. So you can see it's the German one. And let's assign a personal mobile devices Fleet. So now if I go to software, select workstations, that's where US-based token is added. And I go add software, app store. It fetches like those apps that are available in my US based and tied like to that token that I just added. And now if I go back, switch to personal mobile devices, App Store, you see there are some apps here as well. Yeah, the difference is there was Todoist app on the US team as well. The only difference is the language here. Some apps have some sort of descriptions in the name as well, so they are localized and depend on the store. But you can see here is DocLib Pro and this iPadOS app without US. So we were able to add. Now I will just add this DocLib Pro. And yeah, it shows up in the fleet. So this is German. App is only available in German and France, I think, maybe in Italy as well, but not in the US. And you can add that to your fleets. So if I go to workstations now, there's no software detected for this one because we don't have it. But if I go to App Store, and let's say I'll just add Todoist for iOS. So yeah, it's added here. Yeah, basically everything now works. You can add from any country, those kind of specific apps or global apps. So yeah, there's some interesting thing here that because if you have this app in multiple teams, there's names. So we will share name. Basically, we'll take the name that if you add a, for example, English name, and now if I go to personal mobile devices and add the same Todoist app, here you see it's like we pull a German name from the German store, but when you add it, at same bundle ID, it will still have this English name across every team. And still, even if you go and, for example, delete now, if I go to integration, delete this like US based token, everything will still work. I delete this. So basically, I don't have this like Todoist anymore for US team, but still it persists in here. And there is also like after every hour, we fetch latest Apple to get latest version. In this case where, okay, we had this English version. Now, because US token is removed, we'll now fetch with German token. So after 1 hour, this will change to German language, basically. That's the nuance we have here, but it still works. Like the version is always same, everything's same, only some sort of like descriptions in the name or icons are always same. That's the only difference. So Fleet will just continue refetching this app, but with German name, and that will be German. Even if you add like some other US token afterward and add app to the other team, it will be German. I can't show that now. I don't have set up like FleetCTL currently. Yeah, to run this cron basically to refetch data, but that's what will happen. Yeah, that would be it. Also, know that this everything works in GitOps as well. So I don't have GitOps set up currently, but I'll just show docs. So there is VPP. So you can see, yeah, this is already supported. You can add your like VPP teams. Basically, you don't need to do that through UI as I showed. And also, if you go to software and add your App Store apps, you can just add your, for example, DocLib Pro. You can just copy this ID here and add it under App Store apps for your team where you have like your German token, for example. It will work. Yeah, so no changes in GitOps interface, YAML interface, but yeah, everything is supported. Yeah, thank you. That's it from me.
Alrighty, that's what we got from Marco for more global VPP support. And continuing on the trend of VPP, I'll be demoing what I built this sprint, where we're allowing VPP apps for BYOD devices. Hi, today I'll be demonstrating installing VPP apps to BYOD user-enrolled devices. As an IT admin, I want to install VPP and in-house IPA apps on iOS and iPadOS hosts that enrolled via account-based user enrollment with managed Apple accounts, also via self-service. We'll start by showing you the process of enrolling and automatically installing apps as part of the setup experience, exploring self-service, and finally showing how an IT admin can install the apps from Fleet. Let's get started. So when I come over here to my unassigned setup experience, I have a couple of apps already added to setup experience for iOS. We have less apps added for iPadOS. I have the iPhone mirroring over here. We're going to go ahead and enroll. We're going to sign in to work or school account. It'll have us log in via SSO. And then sign into iCloud. We accept that we allow remote management. All right, I don't want to restore my data. And we're now logged in to BYOD. As part of setup experience, each app will be requested with a notification for the end user to install the application. We can see the upcoming commands. We also have our self-service profile installed, so we can go check out anything that we have available for self-service. I can install this handy application to do SSH sessions from my phone. All right, and in post-production, I dropped the audio, so I'll be narrating over this part. Here we're taking a look at the software inventory and library. We're also seeing how an IT admin can go ahead and queue up and install for these BYOD enrolled devices. You still get the prompt. Unfortunately, no way to get around that from Apple. Lastly, once this finishes installing, I'll show you how once you unenroll, everything gets removed, as you would expect. And just another highlight that while this is BYOD, we are enrolling into MDM. There's no available access to any other things on my phone through the MDM service in this BYOD enrollment. No access to my photos, just the apps and installs that Fleet itself triggered. And there we go.
And I don't
Alrighty.
know if Alan's on the call, but I think these were the last remaining bits to actually start enrolling everybody's iPhone into dog food. So
There you go.
Alan, let us know if we're missing anything, but that's exciting. And yeah, to George's point, all of our photos won't be deleted because Apple doesn't allow it.
Alrighty, and next up, I'll be sharing the demo from Rachel.
Hey everybody, it's Rachel here. I'm excited to demo this long time coming feature that I had the privilege to design and dev. So let me go over the user story. As an IT admin, I want to see what software is installed, which is the inventory, versus what software is available for install, which is the library, and install and uninstall status, so that I can easily understand the difference between software reported by OS Query versus software that I manage. So I'm going to go back to my dev environment, which this will be pushed in 4.86. I'm going to click on software, and I'm going to show you all fleets first. So the first thing that you should notice on this page is there is 4 tabs instead of 3. The first tab is your inventory, which is the software that is currently installed on your hosts and detected by OS Query. And then the final tab here, the fourth one, is your library. This is the software that is available to install on a specific fleet. Because software installers are fleet scoped, meaning that they must belong to a specific fleet, you can't click on this tab until you switch over to a fleet. Have there been any changes to the inventory page? There have been a few small changes. The first one I wanted to note to you is that everything on this page should work together. So the show versions toggle works with the add filters toggle, works with the search button. There is no drop down here that doesn't work with one or the other. Why is there no drop down here? That's because that drop down is now that separate libraries tab. So let me go ahead and switch to a specific fleet. I'm going to do the unassigned one because that's where my host is currently enrolled into. I am on the inventory and now I can go to library. And now that I am looking at the unassigned library, I can see that my host has access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potential software installers. So these software installers still have these nifty-difty icons on them, which tells me that the software can be installed on the host details page. It can be installed at the end user's fleet desktop, or this one is both a policy triggering the install and available for the end users to install. So we kept those icons on the library tab, but also we added the library version column here so you can see what version you have available for your hosts. And it gives you a better at a glance look at what are the current installed versions versus what are the versions available to install. Another thing I want to note is that this page does not have a vulnerabilities column because we cannot detect vulnerabilities on software installers, so we don't want to show a vulnerabilities column. Finally, this host count is actually the host count that includes all versions of this software title. We did not change the API yet. If you wanted to see the host count of a specific version, what you would do is you would click into that software, and then you can see the versions table, which has the host count there. And you can go ahead and click on view all hosts to view all of the hosts that have that specific version. Let me go ahead and go back. The last thing on here I wanted to note was self-service is a subset of software installers. They are installers that are available for the end user in the self-service section of their fleet desktop. And so you can go ahead and toggle this on to see which ones are available to install via fleet desktop self-service. If a specific fleet does not have software available to install, you'll see that it has a empty state. Let me go ahead and delete this for us so we can see that empty state saying that there is no software available to install. You can add software for the library state, and the inventory state is that there is no software detected by OS Query. So to wrap this up, I wanted to just remind everybody that the reason we did this is to separate these two different mental models. The first one is inventory is what is being detected versus the library, which is what is being deployed, and making a distinction in the UI for each of those. For some admins, we really care about the currently installed software and finding things like vulnerabilities on them. And other admins are focused on deploying software, which they will be living mostly in the library page in order to edit their deployments of installing and uninstalling specific software. So hopefully this will be a quality of life improvement for everybody who's using Fleet.
All righty, and that concludes the software demos for this sprint. Back to you, Luke.
Awesome. Great work, software and MDM. Next, I'm going to hand it off to Sharon for the security and compliance and orchestration product groups.
Thank you, Luke. Amazing work by MDM and software. And moving to security and compliance, team build, a feature for renewing, pushing certificates with the ACME protocol. Team, take it, please.
All right. Apologies in advance. The video is a little washed out, but I think it still gets the point across. We're going to fix that in post. Today, we're going to talk about auto-renewing certificates. Fleet supports auto-renewing certificates today in proxied deployments, and what that looks like today, something like this. Fleet deploys a SCEP profile. The device sends a SCEP request to Fleet. It proxies that to certificate authority and delivers a certificate to the device. Now, when the certificate is about to expire, and you can refer to our documentation on when that happens. The same workflow is triggered again. We send another SCEP profile, and the certificate is delivered. Renewed certificate is delivered to the device. So what are we doing? We're adding auto renew to some additional certificate workflows. For example, Okta conditional access and non-proxy SCEP, Okta verified being the primary use case here, where the device is talking directly to the service or the certificate authority. Thank you to our friends at SmallStep providing this great meme, because you might be asking, what about ACME? If you're not familiar with ACME or device attestation, there's a great article here. I suggest you read it. As you can see, ACME looks very much like non-proxied SCEP, except we have the ACME profile in the mix here. Now, there's one interesting thing we found with ACME certs on macOS in particular, is these certificates are invisible, at least to the system. And so what we needed to do here, they are not invisible, however, to MDM. And so we're able to add a new MDM command in the mix to grab that expiration information so we can then auto renew. You need to add a renewal ID, Fleet variable, to your existing profiles or to new profiles. And we're going to get right into demo. Before we continue, I'm going to show the two Fleet issues associated with this. This is the automatic repush of profiles, certificates. And 42827 is the servicing of the ACME certificates. So I have a host here. I'm going to scroll down here. We can view existing certificates in the system keychain. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a configuration profile. I actually have it handy here. This is what it looks like. This is my ACME profile. It's pointed to a test ACME instance I have set up locally. Here's our renewal ID, very important. I'm going to upload this profile. Oh, that happened pretty quick. And there it is. It's actually grayed out here because it's a serial number in the name here. I'm going to pause the video because I want to show what this looks like on the device itself. Okay, here is the device. As you can see, I have the ACME certificate. I'm going to open this up. As you can see, it's a hardware-bound key. There's a certificate on this device. Nowhere to be found in this keychain. It is invisible. It's also invisible to OS query, which is why we had to go down the MDM route. Now for renewal, I'm going to hit a refresh. This is verifying the SCEP profile, not the certificate. So I'm going to fake this a bit for demo purposes. I'm going to set the expiration back. Okay, so you see I faked this in the database for demo purposes. The expiration is now today. You see it's in red. So we could wait for Fleet. This happens on an hourly basis. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to run the cron manually. You see, we're back into pending. All right, we're back in a verifying state. You should see. I'm going to refresh here. As you can see, we have a freshly renewed cert. The other workflows I mentioned are fairly complicated to to set up and configure. I'm not going to demo those at this time, but that is it for me. Thank you.
That was a important feature in a team level demo. So thank you, team. Canada has a big internet outage for Rogers Canada. Do we have Dante?
Yes, right here.
Right here. Okay, take it, Dante.
All right, let me share my screen here. All right, so here we have another feature, CIS Benchmark, update Windows 11 to version 5.0.1. As an endpoint user, I want Fleet to support the latest Windows 11 CIS benchmarks so that I can be sure I'm using the latest version of the benchmarks to meet compliance needs. We can see here in this PR, we have the Windows 11 enterprise benchmark policies updated from version 4 to version 5.1. This includes 42 existing policies updated and 17 new policies added. These, as usual, come in the form of a CIS policies query, a file that you import as policies into your fleet. They get deployed to your team, and they are validated against hosts on that team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dante. And next we move to the orchestration. We'll start with Juan. Juan added a new logic for scoping labels with labels include all. Please take it, Juan.
Okay, so yeah, as Sharon mentioned, we added a new scope for labels that applied for both reports and policies. So the story reads as follows. As an IT admin, I want to use the labels include all custom scope for policies and reports. So I can use labels to roll out changes gradually to all my hosts. Here I have 3 hosts. The first one has label 1. The second one has label 2 and 3. And this one has label 1, 2, 3. So if I go to reports and try to add a new report, sure. So, whoops. We can see now that when I click on custom scope, we have this new drop down here, which allows us to specify the scope. So before, when you selected custom here, the only option by default was to include any. Now we can select include all. So if I do label 1 and 2 and click save, we can see the report was created. And let me just cook this real quick so we can get some result. So in the meantime, if we go to the different host, we can see that the report was not attached on this host, neither in this one, but it should be on this one because it has like the both labels. So I'm still collecting. On the meantime, let me go to add a policy for that. And let's do something like this, so like the policy fails. I save it. Again, here, when you select like a custom scope, we added the include all option here. If I do 1 and 2, I click save. We can see here that the policy was created for those 2 labels. So if we go back to the host again, you can see like the policy is not associated with this host, nor with this one, but it is with this one. So let me just run the policy real quick. Sure. Anyways, like in a couple seconds, the status will be updated here. But like the important bit is that the policy is associated with the right host. So this is also managed. You can manage it via GitOps. So if I say fleets, we can see that include like this policy that we added has like the proper scope associated with it. And actually, it should be in the same file. And the same goes for the report. You can also manage this obviously via the API. And via the API, we, of course, validate that you cannot do any bogus thing, like something like this. It's the macOS. All right. And this is also like a fleet premium only feature. So if I try to do something like this under fleet free, we get like a licensing error there. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Juan. And moving to Lucas with a few different features. So I'll let you present it, Lucas.
All right, let's start with, they're simple, so I'll go over real quick. First one is, as an IT admin, I want to see label-related activities in my feed so that I know when changes are made to labels. So usually we want to audit every IT operation because it's important for history purposes and auditability. We were missing activities when creating, editing, or deleting labels. So if I create a label, then we should get to see that on the activity. You can see here. Same with deleted. Let me see if I can find one. Let's do it. I'm gonna be lazy. So if you can, from the UI, you can just edit the name, I think, and description. From GitOps, you can actually do a bit more. And when you run GitOps, it will also show that GitOps, the GitOps user either deleted, created, or edited a label. Yeah, I think that's it on that end. It's just basically auditability. Next story is, all right, this one is also simple but very important. So let's go with, as a fleet user on the host details page, I want to see individual activity items for all attempts for failed software and scripts so that I can see the number of attempts. By default, fleet, whenever you have an automation, let's pick one fleet here. So this one has an automation to run a script. I added a script that will fail. And what happens behind the scenes is that fleet, when the policy fails, fleet tells the host to run the script. And before this change, the host would try 3 times, right? To run the script. I don't know, let's say that there's a network issue at the time, it will try again. But we're not issuing activities on the details page. Now we're gonna see those 3 fail attempts as a single activity here. They're gonna be next to each other. But this is basically for visibility that fleet tried 3 times instead of just 1. Last one, also, this is coming to this. Actually, maybe Sharon, you would like to explain a little bit about this one and then I can demo it.
Yeah, sure. This is something, a last minute thing. We had a request from a prospect that we detect Adobe plugins. And that was a quick win because we have this amazing thing called OS Query, just add a table, and that's that. And it's ready. A little bit of coding, and Lucas did a lot of heavy reviewing. Yeah, and please demo it.
Yeah, I think give me a second. I have to look for let's go to reports. So this is being shipped on Fleet D156, probably in a couple of weeks. It's a new table. So if we go to add report and we look here at the right model, so if we do Adobe plugins, you're gonna see a new table and we do the data that it provides. It's supported on macOS and Windows because I don't think Linux is supported for this kind of Creative Cloud Adobe thing. It supports, I believe, the 2 formats that the plugins have. One is old XML, the other is JSON. And let's try running this on 2 hosts that I have here. Actually, let's get every column. You should get some extensions that come with the default installation. This you can see a Windows host here and a macOS host. So yeah, this is being shipped soon. And the next step after this, if we want to go this route, is to actually use this table to populate the software inventory and have Adobe plugins here, just like we have Chrome plugins, Firefox plugins, and so on. I think that's about it. Yeah, let me go back here. I think we actually have this thing where we ship the documentation beforehand. So I think it should even be on the web page. Yeah, we already have it on our fleetdm.com. So that's it. Basically, it's being shipped on the next Fleet version.
Cool. Thank you, Lucas. And last for orchestration, we have Nico presenting something that looks small, just adding a logo, but with a stateless server like we have, it's not as obvious, and maybe Nico will present a little bit under the hood. Take it, Nico.
Thanks, Sharon. Okay, so this is the user story, ability to upload a custom logo to be shown within my Fleet instance, but in this case, served from my Fleet instance. So currently, the only way to modify the logo that we show here in the top nav and also in this tab experience is by setting like an external URL. So the user story is, as an IT admin, I want to upload my organization's logo in Fleet so that I can see my logo in Fleet's masthead without having to host the logo. So now what we provide customers is the ability to basically upload the file, can be PNG, JPEG, SVG, and they don't have to care about Googling a specific logo and providing it. We basically reuse the bucket. We also used for software title icons, so they don't have to change anything on the infrastructure side. So going to the UI, the first place where we can, where end users can set this up is on the setup page on the second step. So we'll set up my first user. So in this step, you can upload the file. It's optional, but I will do. Let's use this dark logo. And just a note here is that providing this logo, we'll upload it also for dark mode. So you will see when I finalize this step. So you see the dark logo on the top. Let me change to dark. So there is the first, the second change is also here in the settings page. We can basically see both logos. We can edit and delete. One thing to note is that any edits or deletions need us to hit the save button to be applied. So if I try to delete, I will see the preview only, but if I refresh, that won't take any effect. So I have to delete like this, and that makes a change. I can upload this other logo for the light mode. We will still see the dark mode logo, and then I can upload again another logo. Okay, so that's basically the UI change. One thing to note is that I mentioned we are reusing like an S3 bucket that we already have. So I'm running one of that locally. So as you can see here, we are saving this under an org logos prefix. So that's the part where we host the logos for customers. And there is also GitOps changes for this. I will show the docs before finishing, but basically we have these two keys, org logo URL and the light background variant. These are still supported, but if you use them, you will get a deprecation warning. And we now support these path and URL keys. For example, I will just run this one. You can still provide external URLs like this one by using the URL keys. So let's run that. Oh, I have to log in. So after that, you can already see the logos that I specified as URLs. can also provide some paths. So that also works. But if you try to provide a logo for the same mode using two different, like a path and an URL key, you will get this error saying that you should only specify one or the other. And the same happens for light mode, of course. So that doesn't change anything. And one other thing for generating GitOps, we also have the commands to extract those logos to GitOps. But I believe that's all. Yeah.
Thank you, Nico, for the not at all weird images and nice feature. And look, with that, the feature part is done for orchestration and SNC.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, product groups. Lots of great stuff. We're not going to have time to get into spotlights and improvements. We have the working groups, first impressions of Power to the PC, which will say 10 minutes each. So I'll hand over to Scott for first impression.
All right, I'll try to keep it on the quick side. A lot of this sprint actually went into doing some improvements to the charting, both the UI and some feature improvements. So I'll dive into that first. First off, we have a bunch of just kind of UI improvements to make a better first impression, as we say. First off, dark mode colors have been improved here. You'll notice the nice kind of empty boxes rather than solid boxes when there's no data. Actually, let me show the dog food version because there's more data on here. And this host and role chart now has a similar height to the checkerboard one to make it look a little nicer, and is now clickable. So you can actually click on these to get to the hosts with the platform that you're looking at. Restored these boxes down below, which show different kind of cohorts of hosts. Nice red theme for dark mode for the vulnerability charts. And it's nice and reactive now. So as you squeeze the browser size down, it stays pinned to the right. So you're always looking at the most recent data first. And that follows over even when it gets giant down there, which seems like a trivial thing, but required Rachel and I putting our heads together to figure out how to get that done. So thanks, Rachel, for that one. The main big feature that we introduced to the charts, which actually we did squeeze into 485, but not until after last demo, is the ability to disable these charts. So disabling the chart will obviously keep it from showing data here, but will also stop it from collecting the data, and will actually wipe out any data that you have collected previously in case you have privacy concerns for a specific fleet or just for your whole org where you just don't want to collect this data. You can now disable it. So get out of dog food so I don't accidentally disable anything there. But the way to do that is now on the advanced options page. You can disable the hosts online or vulnerabilities chart collection globally. And that's in this new activity and data retention section that was demoed earlier. You can also do this on a per fleet basis. So if you only want to disable charts on an individual fleet, you can do it there. So let's take a look at what that looks like. If we disable, say, the vulnerabilities charts, it's going to give you a warning because it will be deleting data. This doesn't actually happen immediately. It happens because there could be a lot of data. We don't want to wait for the API to return. It actually spawns a job to do the deletion, but in any case, you have to approve that first, save and disable. And we'll see that we got a new activity about the disabling of the chart. And if we go here, it now says data collection is disabled, turn on to see for all fleets. And because we disabled it globally, it will show that for each fleet. If we go back and look at the settings for a per fleet basis, you'll see that we can still disable the host online chart, but because the vulnerabilities chart was disabled globally, we can actually change that here. In order for the data to be collected, it's got to be enabled both globally and for whatever team you want it to be enabled for. This is also doable via GitOps. So if we go into any GitOps file and we go to features, there we go, can turn these on and off. So if I say disable uptime and vulnerabilities, and then run that. We'll see that it's now disabled for both. Oh, and this is actually, the checkbox is enabled because I think in my defaults, I actually did not have these. Yeah, I just canceled that out. And if we go back, see the activities should have happened for that as well. Yep. Disable data collection for the workstation's fleet. This is a little bit trickier than it probably appears because, especially on the per fleet level, we have to go and wipe out all these rows. And instead of just deleting the rows outright, you have to scrub the data for specific hosts for each of those rows. But thank you, Konstantin, for a lot of reviews on this. That is the disabling story. A bunch of GitOps improvements in this release in 486. I'll go through those real quick. So make a better error message. This was, again, for first impressions for people running GitOps, especially in workshops. A lot of times you'll get errors running GitOps. Actually, not a lot of times. Most of the time, if we get errors in GitOps, they should be caught when you run the GitOps flow like internally, and we'll have a nice error message. But occasionally for certain things that are either harder to validate within the GitOps client or just haven't been caught yet, you will see an error come back from the server. And previously, those errors had a URL path and a status code that wasn't very friendly looking for people just getting started with GitOps. So we have updated that so that it just shows the error without that padding in front of it. That wasn't super useful for end users. So I think I can demo this real quick in here with the Google Calendar. So here's a Google Calendar integration. And if I remove one of the keys that's required, you probably get a server error here. Yeah, validation failed, client email is required, and it doesn't have the API or app config URL and the 400 error code on there. It just shows you what the error is. Next, in GitOps improvements. Oh, actually, sorry, that was this one. This one is missing name, a better error message for when you miss the name in your Fleet YAML file. As a Fleet user, I want to see an easy to understand error message when I'm missing name. This issue was that when you left out name in one of these files, it would say something hard to understand about that you needed to add org settings into your file because it couldn't tell that you weren't trying to make a global YAML file. So if I comment out the name in this workstations file now and run it, see, it says something a little bit clearer. Tells you which file had the error in it. No name was provided in this workstations file. If this file is intended to define org level settings, add org settings as a top level key. Otherwise, use name to specify the fleet name. So it gives you a little better understanding of what's going on there. Okay. Oh, this was a big one for anybody who was trying to create labels and then use them in the same GitOps flow. This wasn't possible for you. Get an error saying that a label was missing if you tried to create a label and assign it to, say, a profile or a policy at the same time. So that has been fixed now. You can now add this label and add this policy at the same time. 1 second. We got to back out all of the intentional errors that I made in here. There we go. Okay, so you'll see now that if I go into my instance, this policy was created and it has this new label attached to it. The last thing I'll demo here really quickly is controlling GitOps mode from YAML, where you can now turn GitOps on and off via the GitOps YAML file. You can still also turn it on and off in the UI. So this is never going to be blocked. So you don't always have to make a PR just to turn on GitOps mode, but you can set it in here. And the idea here is that, let's see, GitOps mode is now on, is that you might want to turn this off in the UI just to make a quick change, but you don't want to forget to turn it back on. So if you have it in your YAML file, then going forward, next time the GitOps runs, it will re-enable GitOps mode. I don't think this last one really needs to be demoed. It's just deprecating something that was formally deprecating something with a warning that was already deprecated. I'm going to send it back to you, Luke, so we have a little time for the last group.
Cool. Thank you for getting through those. Oh, and I forgot the final for everything. Great job. A lot of good stuff there. All All right, last up, we have Power to the PC with 3 videos I'm going to show you. A lot of stuff I'm not going to show you is performance improvements in Windows in general, Windows MDM specifically, across all layers. For folks that are interested in Windows, check this out and check out these stories. Otherwise, I have 3 videos I'm going to show you because Victor is out today. So
we're going to show you some improvements in the Windows setup experience. As an IT admin managing Windows, I want to prevent end users from going through setup experience if critical software fails, so that I can have parity with my macOS team and ensure that work blocking technology is available per my organization's requirements. So in the Fleet setup experience in Windows, we now have this checkbox which matches what macOS had before, and here you can set up your software that installs during the setup experience. This is important for the out-of-box experience when an employee gets a new laptop and we want to make sure some critical security software is installed. So let's go ahead and run it. And here I have a machine going through the autopilot flow. It is registering autopilot. So when you bring this machine up, eventually it'll come to the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video as I log in. Okay, I've logged in. So the first thing that comes up is terms and conditions. I will agree and continue. And then this will proceed. Note that we will have a failing software, so we will see what a failing screen looks like eventually. Let me pause the recording. So we're now at the enrollment setup page. So now out-of-box experience will be seeing this page, and depending on how many settings to apply, how many software installed, that's how long people will stay on this page. At this point, we weren't able to get exact counts populated on this page, so we are working with Microsoft to get that straightened out. So basically what's happening under the hood is Orbit is getting installed, that Orbit is communicating to the Fleet to install software. The policies are also getting installed, as well as any certificates. Let's pause and let this finish. Okay, and now we see the failure page. We will have a message over here, up here. There's an error indicator, and then we have a couple kind of Windows features enabled here. One is this view diagnostics to dump some additional detail, and then we can reset the device and try starting this whole process over. Now let's go back to the dashboard and look at activity. So we can see the whole process here. We turned on MDM on that device, it enrolled in Fleet, and then the setup experience was canceled because this software failed to install. Another message here, and then because it failed to install, we also canceled the subsequent software. So we basically try to fail early when one software fails to install. And then we can also see these activities as well on the host page. As an IT admin managing Android hosts, I want to specify the subject alternative name SAN so that I connect my end users to my company's Wi-Fi. So how does this look like? We go to our controls, OS settings, certificates. We add a certificate. Let's go ahead and give it a name, Sprint Demo. We are using EGBCA certificate authority. Let's go ahead and copy and paste some values here. I just need to use this CN, and the key here is the subject alternative name down here. So what can we put here? We can support DNS. Note we support multiple values, also case insensitive here. Email, Fleet variables, we have URI, we have IP, IPv4, IPv6, and then UPN, user principal name, which is the needed for Microsoft Active Directory link. So let's go ahead and add this, and then this will be going to our host, and we'll go ahead and wait for this to be applied. Okay, so this has been applied. So now I want to actually take a look at what was issued by my CA. So I'm going to be running these 2 commands. I'm running EGBCA in a Docker container, so I will get the last cert for this username, and then I will dump it. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have the cert, we have the serial number, we have the subject, and here's where we have the subject alternative name. So we have the DNS, 2 DNSs, email, URI, 2 IP addresses, and we have our UPN with all the Fleet variables expanded. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our Android device and go to the debug mode. And there we go. We have our new cert here. And as you can see, the serial number matches, starts with 10, ends with 8A. Everything's good. And let's take a quick look at the docs. Subject name separated by commas, subject alternative name also separated by commas. If your URI does actually need a comma, you need to escape it. Let's scroll down to the YAML configs. So here's where we list what's supported. These 5 SAN values are supported. And that's it.
All right, that is it for the release. We do have a quick video for a POC that Victor built during the hackathon, macOS EDR MVP.
Of the hackathon recently, and I wanted to show you a preview. So the story is, as a secure engineer responsible for protecting a fleet of Macs, I want Fleet to detect, alert, on, block, and respond to malicious activity and malicious apps on macOS endpoints in real time, so that I can identify, block, and contain threats without relying on a separate third-party EDR. So the immediate goal on this for me is to get this on our dog food, on our test devices, but I'll show you what we have so far. So let's start with application control. This is where we are able to block malicious apps. So we have policies here, and we can add rules, different types. We have SHA-256, but we'll have other ones that you may have seen from other tools like Santa, and then we can customize and message. So I have already created a rule here, and let's go ahead and look at our VM. First of all, we have the agent running here, and it is using the network extension and security extension. Security extension allows us to see running processes and block them, which will be happening here. And network extension allows us to see network traffic and also block network traffic. So I am trying, the app I blocked is Calculator. So if I try to run it, I get this pop-up, application blocked, and the custom message that's coming from the server. Now, let's go and see what the server sees. So if we go to alert, we see this alert that just happened. And if we open it up, we see the process. We see some details about the process. This by itself is not very interesting, but we do have a previous alert where you can actually see the full history of the lineage of what actually started that process. So if you're investigating an incident, a security incident, you have all this additional data. So this is not just a one-off app to block processes. This is a full-featured EDR. Now, we have other things we're detecting because you can see these other alerts like keychain credential dump, suspicious exec. So we have added several detection rules, and we'll not be going into detail, but we can, everything is documented in the app itself regarding what they do or why they do it. There's also a way to explore the processes right now. So I actually have a host pulled up here that you can see all the processes running right now or that were running recently, and then we can search them by something. So we have that. And those are the major features. So we got the basic application control. We got a bunch of rules we're running. We also have SSO, two-factor authentication break glass account, RBAC for the security roles. And the future direction is to be actually, in addition to blocking applications, to be actually blocking domains and be able to quarantine this host so it cannot access the web except for Fleet. And also we want to create an app for Windows, an agent for Windows to do a similar thing for Windows. And that's it for the preview.
All right, that's it for release Cerium. Thank you everybody for presenting and for joining us, and I will see you later.
Bye everyone.